People of God, listen. It's people that watch us when we don't even realize or think that they're watching, right? I want to tell you something funny. So I ran into an old buddy of mine. We went to college together, and he asked me. He said, "You still a sleeper?" I said, "A sleeper?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "That was what we called you." I said, "What? A sleeper?" I don't know. What's a sleeper? He said, "Man, we used to watch you and all of us." He said, "You remember that whole group of us?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "We used to watch you." He said, "And we all would argue amongst ourselves. We wanted to approach you." He said, "You used to hide yourself real good." He was like, "I saw them nights you used to come out and take yourself to dinner and all of that. I saw your figure and all that." He was like, "You got a banging body." And I was like, "What?" Now, mind you, now, I ain't never heard this in all these years. We went to college together. He said, "We used to sit over there in that grade." He pointed out some stuff to me that let me know, gave me hints that I remember what he was confirming some stuff I remember. I was like, "Oh." So they're good people. Always showed me respect, never disrespected me or anything. I had a lot of very well-respected guy friends in college or whatever. None of them went out the way, tried to disrespect me or anything like that. They were always helpful. But I didn't know they called me a sleeper. He was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Because you used to cover yourself up." Like, he's like going through. He was like, throughout the day when we sat back there, we used to be watching you. He was like, "You would never show yourself." He's like, "But sometimes at night," he said, "you ain't used to run with a whole pack of them girls neither." He's like, "Your homegirls, they be doing their thing, going to the club." He said, "We ain't never saw you in the club." He was like, "But you used to go take yourself out to dinner." And I'm like, "You really was like a stalker." And he said, "Yeah, you used to dress so nice." And he said, "That's when we saw what your shape really looked like." He said, "But the whole time, throughout the day we saw you," he said, "we wanted to approach you, but none of us was no good." He said, "You already knew what we was up to, what we was doing, so we'll argue amongst ourselves. Man, you can't approach that girl. You can mess up that girl's life or whatever." He's like, we just called you a sleeper and nobody messed with you or whatever." He's like, "But yeah, we saw you." And then he was like, "When you started dating old boy," I had one boyfriend in college and I used to call him like my gentle giant, right? Because he was so big and strong. People were scared of him. I wasn't. He knew Big Mama was the boss. But his hands was like 3 times the size of my hand. And I used to love, we used to talk about the Bible. We used to pray together. We cried together. We never had sex to this day. Never had sex. But he was my only boyfriend in college. I thought he was going to be my husband, but we kind of split up. He was an upperclassman. So when he graduated, he went through his stuff or whatever and we lost contact. But his hands, I never forget this. I used to always tell him this. I said, "You're my Goliath with the heart of David." His hand was 3 to 4 times my size of my hand. And when we would sit in my truck, I had this 99 Durango. We would sit in my truck at night just talking about family life, his past, the Bible. And he loved the Lord. He did really have a heart of David. Well, when it came to me, I didn't know what type of man he was with other women when we stopped talking, but he was just always respectful. But I used to love to place my little hand on the inside of his hand, and he would just cover my hand with his hand. And I just love that, to place my little hands in his hands. And I would just tell him, "You know I'm not scared of you. You know I would beat your tail if I needed to." And he would just laugh at me. We would work out sometimes in the midnight. We were best friends, really. But anyway, that brought me back to what this guy just told me. I was a sleeper. That's what they called me. That was my nickname in college, y'all. I've been graduated from college for how many years now? A long time. And I ain't never knew that. So it's people that be watching us and you never know that they watching. But I'm telling you, people watching. All right, y'all, let me get on to my next thing.